When the world's best yachtsmen want to sail for fun, it's the Etchell-class yacht they choose. Among the skippers unpacking their craft at the Lake Macquarie Yacht Club this afternoon, the Aussie who stole the America's Cup from America in 1983, John Bertrand.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, they're the most competitive one-design yacht racing that you can get anywhere in the world now. And, Dennis Conner and Russell Cootes from America's Cup compete in it.
Bertrand and his crew finished third at the recent Nationals in Perth and will be competitive on the lake course.
3 races Friday, 3 Saturday, and 1 final race on Sunday, a 40-boat fleet.
Bertrand last sailed on the lake in the '79 Olympic trials, which he won.
But other than that, I haven't been back, so it all looks kind of familiar, but it's a long time ago.
Really competitive racing, very, very colourful, highly skilled sailors. For anyone interested in sailing or just the spectacle, it's going to be something to see.
Racing in Belmont Bay starts tomorrow at midday. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
A welcome guest today. Peter Sharp knows on Sunday week at Marathon it'll be anything but.
That's a fair statement. I'll need a crash helmet on next Sunday.
Sitting opposite Michael Hagan today, both coaches hold their respective halfbacks, Brett Kermorley and Andrew Johns, as the aces in their pack. And whoever trumps the other on the day should also take the match.
They're both great players, aren't they, and have an enormous influence on the footy side and the way they play the game, so that alone's worth the price of admittance, I reckon, the 2 halfbacks going head to head.
I think it's going to be terrific from a supporter's point of view, and I'd like to think our supporters are going to have a bit more to cheer about on Sunday than the Northern Eagles.
No room for boards at Fingal Bay Beach this weekend, just surfboats and plenty of them. More than 150 crews and more than 1,000 competitors will hit the Port Stephens Beach for the final Grand Prix of the Australian League of Boat Rowers series. Several local crews are competing, and those in medal contention include Swansea Belmont's A-Men crew, Merriweather Club veterans, Caves Beach ladies, while Nobbies have strong crews in several divisions. And former Newcastle Wildfire Jared Heaney has been called into the New South Wales Waratahs team in their Super 12's pre-season match against New Zealand team Auckland tomorrow.
First, there was a recreational fishing licence. Now plans for a permit system for people who want to collect firewood. A draft national plan on the collection of firewood issued by the Commonwealth suggests that people are harming the environment when they collect wood from the bush because of the threatened species of flora and fauna that live in fallen trees and dead timber. Local fuel wood suppliers like Gary Willoughby say if restrictions are placed on the collection of timber, its price will go up.
I think it's going to affect the cost of the timber to the consumer, and it could price it right out of the market where no longer it's an economical heating form.
Australians burn 5 million tonnes of firewood each year, but only half of that is bought from suppliers. The rest is collected in the bush. The draft report that's open for discussion until March 31 suggests issuing permits to people who want to scavenge for wood.
You couldn't have asked for a better day, but for the yachties down on Lake Macquarie, it was a case of waiting for the right winds before they could start racing. Among the yachts lined up for the starters gun this afternoon was Yandu 20, captained by Nev Whitty, who recently represented Australia at the Sydney Olympic Games. Nev's international experience paying off as the crew crossed the line first in the first of 3 races on the lake. Steam Packet came in second, Elvisha third. Also sailing today, former Australia 2 skipper and America's Cup victor John Bertrand, enjoying the conditions aboard 2 Saints and a Magpie. Mark Richards' Steam Packet managed to take out the second race today, followed by Dr. Evil, and then last year's third place getter in the World Championships, Peter McNeil, skippering the local hopefuls aboard Tom Pepper 18. The third race of the day taken out by Michael Cookson's North Sydney Station. The racing continues tomorrow. Matt Carden, NBN News.
The protesters were on the footpath, their supporters on the street. The South Lakes Medical Group has ditched bulk billing, leaving pensioners at surgeries at Morisset, Coorambong, Dora Creek and Mannering Park on southern Lake Macquarie with little recourse. One surgery in Morisset still accepts Medicare, but demand has skyrocketed.
But they've had such an overflow of patients from the other group who have stopped that they've had to close their books.
The nearest place to that suburb for bulk billing is in Berkeley Vale.
About 30 kilometres is the nearest doctor that will still be taking bulk billing patients.
Most blame the federal government for what they say is an ineffective rebate. And mindful this is an election year, member for Charlton Kelly Hall was called in.
Some of them are just going to choose not to go to the doctor, and I think that is extremely, extremely unfortunate.
Catherine Turner, NBN News.
With all the top seeds eliminated, the final was anyone's. Yamina's Glenn Hall was quick to display his consistency, manoeuvres and power, but three others were also out for the title. Newcastle's Travis Lynch also scoring big points on early waves. Byron's Corey Zeems also mastered the 1.5 metre sets, eventually just he and Micro vying for the lead. Hall, though, kept his head a last-minute wave, sealing victory. In the women's, Avalon's Chelsea Jorgensen worked up a big lead early on, but both Stacey Holt and Copa's Rebecca Woods caught up, also taking turns in front. Needing a 4.5 ride to win, Woods finished with a 4.6 score to snatch the title from Jorgensen. At McMaster's Beach, under-19 surfboat crew has raced into the equal lead of the National Surf Rowers League Championship after winning round 3 at Port Stephens today. McMaster's had to hold off a fast-finishing Woolgoolga for the narrowest of wins. Judges actually took a few minutes to award the victory, much to the delight of the team.
Swansea Belmont was the last crew to qualify for the A-Men's final, but in the decider, it was the early leader heading out to the Cairns. It was going to take a mighty effort to hold out Palm Beach, though. The current Australian champions drew the favoured wide alley, which was getting plenty of assistance in the light conditions. Palm Beach winning easily in the end, while it was a judge's nightmare for the minor placings. It got no easier in the under-19s final, where two Central Coast crews, McMaster's Beach and Yamina, battled it out in the middle. Out wide, though, it was Woolgoolga that powered along, making it a two-horse race with McMaster's on the way home. The pair hit the line almost together, with judges needing a few minutes before awarding the Central Coast crew the win, and now equal series lead with Lorne. Hats off to the under-19s Lorne crew, though, which also raced the 21s final, but that went to Torquay. In the A-Reserve men's, tiny club Pacific Palms had a huge win and upset a few fancied rivals along the way, while in the women's, Aussie champs Talabudgera started favourites, but Bilgola came home with the win and the overall series lead as well. To surfing, and on the Central Coast, Newcastle's Travis Lynch made his way into the final of the Billabong Junior Pro, beating national number 1 Adrian Barkin along the way. He had to settle for fourth in the decider, though, with Yamina's Glenn Hall winning on his last wave.
So lead seems to have its effects primarily in children, primarily during one period of growth and development, and we'd like to know why it does that.
The Royals Hydrotherapy Pool was opened in June 1999 after a community fundraising campaign poured more than $600,000 into the new building. Hunter Health made up the $400,000 difference, but when the wall of a neighbouring building collapsed in December that year, the pool was deemed unsafe and closed indefinitely. Today, Hunter Health confirmed it won't reopen the pool because it's too expensive to run.
Well, I think in retrospect it was not a good decision. But it's been a very changing period for the role of hydrotherapy and for the time patients are spending in hospital to access the hydrotherapy.
The department claims advances in surgery and medication meant patients didn't use the facility as much as first thought, with an average of 25 people coming through each month. As for recouping the money, Hunter Area Health is confident the eventual sale of the Royal Newcastle Hospital and the adjoining pool will more than compensate for the building's closure.
But I think that the funding for the pool will be realised when we sell the site, and that probably it won't go into another hydrotherapy pool because we already have one at John Hunter, but it will go into many other facilities actually in the Bone and Joint Institute.
Helen Kapelos, NBN News.
Vomiting, I think, a lot of seasickness, meeting a lot of cool people, and just I'm not looking forward to climbing up those masts though.
It's graffiti like this that has the business community up in arms over weekend acts of vandalism. Jeanette Jackson from the Chamber of Commerce brought the issue to a head today at a meeting with the town's mayor, their local state government representative as well as the police.
To see how the problems of young people can be better addressed than they are now, because obviously just having a big stick isn't enough.
The answer to the problem, according to Jeanette as well as state member Kerry Hickey, is to increase the profile of police in the area.
The police department have a major role to play in policing and not private enterprise, and that's just a personal belief, but I really believe that at the end of the day society has to take some of the responsibility as well.
Although the police have agreed to address the issue and attempt to increase their profile in the central business district, they feel that Cessnock isn't suffering any more than other areas.
I don't personally believe Cessnock's any worse than any other location. Most locations nowadays have their particular problems.
Unlike other towns around Lake Macquarie, the Chamber of Commerce doesn't want to hire private security patrols to try control the problem. Adam Harper, NBN News.
their problems. Local ecosystem. Now the Clean Up Lake Macquarie project is trying to restore nature's balance. Unfortunately,
Team Mundine rolled into town today, quick with the fists and just as sharp with the tongue.
I want to become the most supreme athlete in history.
And he wants it fast. He aims to have a world title by the end of the year, but next stop will be Monday night on the Central Coast for an Australian title fight against Mark Bajero. A win, something father and trainer Tony Mundine considers a formality.
No problem, just a matter of Bajero stepping in the ring and sort of, just get out of the road and get him a champion and let's move on.
You couldn't get two more contrasting build-ups with the man doing most, if not all, the talking.
Well, he has to stay low-key because he doesn't want to talk too much because he knows he's going to get whipped.
Mundine fights as much for the Aboriginal community as he does for himself, and he definitely doesn't want to be overshadowed by other champions. The man wants it all.
I don't want to be one of them, I want to be the best, ever. When haven't I talked it and when haven't I walked it?
Jim Callanan, NBN News.
They might have been rivals for everything from Knight's first grade to national selection over the years, but at Marathon Stadium today it was clear that respect is the driving force in John's and Kamali's relationship.
Probably at the moment he's number one in the world. Went away to the World Cup and he really dominated there. I think he's probably the best player in the competition at the moment and was last year.
Both rugby league fans and commentators look forward to their on-field encounters, and they're not the only ones.
It's definitely a challenge and it's probably just a more incentive to get yourself ready to play.
Kamali, meanwhile, will be keen to make amends on Sunday for the last time he was at Marathon, a convincing loss that ended his spell with the Storm.
I think there's a few memories there. Obviously it was a disappointing day for us and certainly finished off the club last year. So a new start now and I want to help get the Eagles off to a fresh start and hopefully 1 from 1.
Johns, at least, will be right on target with the boot. The night skipper spent this afternoon getting in some kicking practice with none other than Bulldogs legend Daryl Halligan. Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
Dr. Richard Bates says understanding how a particular protein molecule works and its interaction with other cells may lead researchers to new therapies to stop the spread of the cancer.
In breast cancer, as with most cancers, it's not so much the growth of the primary tumour, but the ability of the cells to spread, which is what causes major problems and death with cancer.
In one study, researchers found the molecule at the centre of their investigations appeared in 8 out of 11 cases of breast cancer. In collaboration with other organisations, a 3-year study into the molecule is now underway.
Based on that data, ultimately we hope that once we understand the pathways that are turned on and how this protein affects the breast cells to become more invasive, then that's when we'll start looking at a more clinical or a more applied approach of stopping its function.
If successful, the information has very real benefits.
Study presents, and this molecule is in fact involved in in the spread, then the physician will know that this is a more aggressive type of cancer and can then design the treatment more appropriately for that type of cancer.
The ability to block the spread of the disease as well as treat the primary tumour would be a major breakthrough. Brooke Webster, NBN News.
It's touted as the state's biggest ever industrial investment, the Aussteel company unveiling its vision for a $2.8 billion steel mill in the Hunter. The Premier today signed a development agreement with company heads.
There are no guarantees given the volatility of the world economy, but we've got serious investors. We've got someone contracting to buy the product.
As far as I can see it, it's not a question of will it happen, but how soon can we make it happen?
Only time will, of course, tell whether or not today is going to go down in history as a major turning point in the history of Newcastle.
The location hasn't been finalised.
We'll be acquiring the site, we'll be undertaking the site preparation work up to, I think it's $60 million.
If the mill becomes a reality, it would employ 1,500 people, with 3,500 construction jobs and 5,000 indirect jobs. The plan brings fresh hope for former BHP workers still out of a job.
They're really keen for this to get up because they're steelmakers, it's in their blood.
Iron ore from a mine in Western Australia would be shipped to Newcastle, where 4 million tonnes of steel a year would be produced, double the output of the old BHP plant.
This won't create an image of being a polluted city because it's new technology, it's 21st century technology.
If it does go ahead, the first steel will start rolling out in 2005. Vanessa Trezise, NBN News. Amongst huge fanfare, Aussteel yesterday unveiled plans for a massive steel mill in Newcastle, creating 1,500 permanent jobs.
The announcements yesterday were clearly framed in a way that saw the Premier and the Treasurer saying, here we have a rescue package for you. This is a gift from us.
Dr Philip O'Neill from Newcastle University says the economy is far from flagging. In 4 years, unemployment has plummeted from 13.5 to 8.5%. The argument is that the mill will again cast Newcastle in the eyes of most Australians as a heavy industrialised town, only a year after BHP closed.
The whole picture is one of a diversifying economy. Now, it's interesting that the headlines in the papers are that Steel City is back. And I think there would be planners and local entrepreneurs, local business people, tourism operators and so on, who might be looking at those headlines with a bit of dismay.
Unions disagree.
Basically, there's been a lot of jobs created in the Hunter, but those jobs, a lot of them are part-time, very casual jobs, very, very low-paid jobs. To have steel back in the Hunter provides real, well-paid, sustainable jobs.
Unions claiming manufacturing is the region's strength.
People think of steel production as the old sort of smoke belching stacks over at BHP. However, this steel production is exceptionally clean. It doesn't have many of the old byproducts. It doesn't have a coke oven to start with.
Vanessa Trezise, NBN News.
This model shows what Australia's latest satellite will look like. Weighing as much as a small bar fridge, the satellite will orbit 800 kilometres above the Earth, relaying data to Australian scientists, including researchers from Newcastle University.
Newcastle University's got a magnetometer experiment on board. This just is a device that detects the magnitude and direction of the Earth's magnetic field in the environment where the satellite flies through.
The FedSat satellite was the main topic at a conference of 65 Australian scientists in Newcastle today.
It's very important that a country like Australia does take part in space development, space technology. You look around, all our communications now is through space, so it's very important that we are part of that race.
Taking part in the conference was Dr. Colin Waters, who has just returned from the United States, where he spent a year studying space weather, or how the Earth is affected by the sun's energy.
Space weather here on Earth can affect us in terms of our communications. In Australia, that's the major effect in terms of HF radio, emergency services, communications, airline communications and things like that.
Dr. Waters made use of the old Motorola telephone system of 76 satellites.
Basically with the Iridium data we have a far better capability of being able to predict when some of these events will occur.
It goes back, I think, about 10 or 12 years ago when they made a decision to move it from February to October because of the weather. And that October show was the wettest one they'd had for years. So, yes, we might take it out west and break the drought out west.
So what are the highlights this year, Ron?
Yes, rugby league is back and it's been a long off-season, but it's gone quickly and the players are about to embark on an extremely exciting year. There's been plenty of issues floating around with the season looming. Windle Sailor jumping ship to rugby union, the salary cap and of course the rule changes, and that's why I think it's going to be such an exciting season because of the axing of the unlimited interchange rule. The introduction of 4 reserves, 12 replacement scenario will bring back the game that ingredient that's been missing, the mental toughness and personal contest and challenge of getting over your opponent. And as a player, I hated the interchange rule for that particular reason. And I think the supporters will just love seeing the gruelling on-field contest this year with their favourite players stretching themselves right to the very limit. Now let's get down to business and analyse the first round for 2001. Straight to the double-header, the game between the Panthers and the Eels. Most tipsters are going with the Eels, but I'm going to go with the Panthers. Tigers v the Roosters. Roosters to win this one. I think they'll carry over their good form from last year, but watch out for their off-season signing of Adrian Morley, the Great Britain international. I've seen him play and he's one of the most damaging runners in rugby league, one to watch out for. Broncos to win over the Cowboys, Storm, Raiders and the Sharks to win their matches. And undoubtedly the most improved side this year will be the Northern Eagles. They beat the Knights last year in their first round and had their chance again on Sunday. But of course, I'm going to tip the boys Knights to win. I'll see you next week.